Gang, it's Thursday and it's time for 5 Minutes of Truth 316. You know, last night after I wrapped the video and posted it, I couldn't get the guarding of one's witness out of my head, and the Lord's directed us this morning in my devos. I landed in the book of Proverbs. Now, the interesting thing I'll tell you about the book of Proverbs is that Proverbs is right after Psalms, so it's pretty much dead in the middle of the Bible, and there are 31 chapters in the book of Proverbs. How many days are there usually in a month? 31. So if you're interested in a Devo plan where you can do one a day, for example, Proverbs is a fantastic place to go. There are 31 of them, and you can read one a day in most cases. Today's the 26th, so we find ourselves in the 26th chapter of Proverbs, and I want to pay special attention to Proverbs verses 4 and 5, New Living Translation. Proverbs 26:4 says, Don't answer the foolish arguments, of fools, or you will become foolish as they are. Verse 5 then says, Be sure to answer the foolish arguments of fools, or they will become wise in their own estimation. It's contradiction, right? No, not really. And here's what this looks like. It follows back to our discussion yesterday about guarding our witness. Especially in the age of social media, gang. You know, you can get sucked into an argument, somebody posts something for shock value, and there you are, man, you're on it. Political views, social norms, you name it, people argue about it on social media. Twitter, for example, is a cesspool of that kind of stuff. Facebook's not far behind in that realm. And I was one who was famous for that for years, okay? For years, until the Lord corrected it. Until the Lord corrected it and made me to realize that, you know what, those arguments aren't important. Because in most cases, you're not going to change anyone's mind, okay? And at the end of the day, does the answer truly matter? You know, the question becomes, when Jesus returns for his church, what do you want to be doing? That's the issue. So my dad always used to say, don't suffer fools. Don't let yourself get sucked in. Don't suffer fools. And this is what verse 4 says here. Don't answer the foolish argument of fools, or you will become as foolish as they are. In other words, don't waste your time. If it doesn't promote the kingdom of Jesus Christ, it doesn't matter. Now, I'm not going to spend precious video time here explaining or talking through, you know, civil activism and public office and knowing what you believe. I mean, all of those things, don't get it twisted. But they're not as important as God is. They're not as important as your relationship with Jesus Christ. And more conversely to the point, they're not as important as other people understanding the life-giving salvation, the gift of Jesus Christ. Spreading the gospel has to become the most important thing in a Christian's life. Not spreading Republican or Democrat, Green Party, whatever it is. Not spreading that stuff. Not that stuff all has its place and whatever, but it's not as important as Jesus. It's not as important as Jesus. Jesus is the key and the most important thing in a Christian's life. He is the anchor to a godly relationship. Verse 5 now seems to be a bit of a contradiction, but it's not. Contrary to popular belief, people think there are contradictions in the Bible. There aren't. Okay? This is one of them that could appear that way at first glance, but let's go through it. It says in verse 5, "Be sure to answer the foolish arguments of fools, or they will become wise in their own estimation." What? You just said not to do it. Now you're saying to do it. Larry, that's a contradiction, right? No, it's not. And here's why. When someone says to you, "I don't buy the whole God thing for this reason," you know it's a foolish argument. You're called to answer. You're called to answer, which is why we have to guard our witness. We just do. Because we're called to answer the argument, not the foolish arguments of fools. In verse 4, not the foolish arguments of things that will not last, but the eternally minded arguments, the eternally minded situations. These things are things we must stand and answer, because, as I said last week, I don't know anybody that I wouldn't want to see in heaven. So, verse 4, don't answer the foolish arguments of fools. So, the stuff that they're into, the arguments that they want to make in our world today, politics, football scores, whatever it is, don't mess with that stuff. Like I said, all that stuff has its place, and I have my opinions, but my opinions are my own. Okay? But when it comes to Jesus, verse 5, be sure to answer those foolish arguments. Otherwise, people will go astray. And like I said, there's nobody that I can think of that I don't want to see in heaven. Make it count, gang, and be blessed.
If you enjoyed that video, there's more where that came from. If you'll just hit subscribe down here in the bottom and ring the bell for me. If you'll hit subscribe and ring the bell, you'll be sure never to miss another episode. We do put these out daily. The goal and the object here is to get them out to as many people as can hear them and see them, to further the kingdom of Jesus Christ. That's what it's all about. Make it count, gang, and be blessed.